right, the goal here is to be as short and to the point as possible. So the first thing that you see here is the W next to FAU on the schedule at 45 to 21. Next up, we have Cincinnati. And if you go to my first video, which I will put a card right now on the top, that left corner, you can go back to my first video and my preview of the Florida Atlantic game, where I basically talk about the games that I think are going to be tough on the schedule and the games that I don't think are going to be tough on the schedule. And Cincinnati is not one of them that I thought was going to be difficult. And I would still say I think we've pretty much got this game in hand because they don't have even as good of offense as FAU is supposed to have. So if their offense is not as good as FAU, our defense is looking pretty good. I think our defense is going to do pretty good, although their defense is going to be better than FAU. So that puts it in my mind that the game is going to be a lower scoring game than what I predicted before. So my prediction for the FAU game, if you didn't see in the video already, which I will also put a card now, and you can see when I go over my schedule in that video, that I had Nebraska, Michigan State, and Penn State and Michigan as my X's. That's where I had X's, and X means basically where I think we could possibly drop a game. Now, this last weekend was a pretty big shit weekend for the Big Ten, which always seems to happen. Minnesota barely won, which we don't play them this year, which is okay. And Wisconsin looked dominant, and I initially didn't think that Wisconsin was going to be someone we have to worry about, but now after seeing that they completely dominated their game, I'm not worried as much about Nebraska as I was before, because Nebraska did not play very well, and Taylor Martinez did not look all that great. So I'm actually going to switch that now after seeing the first week's games. And I'm going to be more worried about Wisconsin than I am about Nebraska, because Wisconsin has like a badass running back. And Northwestern, I said I wasn't worried about because they lost their first game, and I just never been that worried about Northwestern. I think they're better than they should be because of their coach, but I still don't think they just are going to have the talent to be able to stand with the rest of the players and teams that they play against. Michigan State, they won barely, or not barely, but they didn't put up a lot of points, which I expected. But I always said Michigan State plays us hard, and they're very, very good against their defense is very good against the run. And JK didn't impress me in the first. I mean, he got 90 yards or something like that, 91. But he didn't completely impress me in the first one. And I think we're going to want to be running, and they're going to stop the run. So I think they're going to give us a better game than we think they are. And of course, Penn State just absolutely ripped in their game, and Michigan didn't look as good as they should have against an absolute shite team, which is even worse than FAU. So I'm not too worried about Michigan, other than the fact that they should beat us because of just circumstance and time. All right, as you can see in the graph, ESPN has us at a 76% chance of winning this game. I think we're going to win this game confidently. I think they'll give us a game for probably a half. I think a half it'll be somewhat close. But I think there'll never be a time where we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose this game. I'm hoping that's that's my initial feeling, and that's what I think. So I'm not too worried about Cincinnati. They do have last week a defensive player called Javon Hicks, I think is how you say his name. He had 2 interceptions. So I think Justin Fields is going to have to be a little careful if 4 guys are not getting wide open and he is not accurate. This Javon Hicks could have his 3rd or 4th interception of the year in 2 games. So other than that, I think we'll be good. Their defense is better than FAU. But I think we'll clean up some stuff. Hopefully we clean up the penalties from last week. And if we don't have that many penalties and we clean up some of the just kind of lagging around, I felt like especially Fields when he would run sometimes, it looked like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to run really hard. I'm in practice because I don't want to get hurt because we don't have a backup. So it felt like he was just kind of running around like lackadaisical. Whereas like if he was in a real serious game where he was just kind of let go, he would probably run a lot harder. I hope he runs a lot harder this time. And I know we're worried about him getting hurt, but at the same time, you can't just like make it like it's practice. Cincinnati's a much better team than FAU. We have to take it more seriously. So with that said, my score prediction for this game is going to be lower. I still think because their offense is not as good as FAU, and we'll probably keep in our first team and hopefully get some of those guys back from injury, then I'm going to give them 14 points. So I think Cincinnati scores 14 points, and I think that we score 35 points. I don't think we'll be able to score 42 on their defense because I think we're still getting into figuring out who we are, and we'll probably have another lull where we kind of fall asleep and go 3 and out or something like that because we make stupid mistakes. So I still think we take the game pretty much in hand at 35-14. As always, like and subscribe and look for more Ohio State footage coming in the future. Go Bucks!